Africa, a vast and wild continent, home to an array of vast and wild habitats. Here it's not easy to survive, but some have it all figured out. The snakes. They thrive all over. From waterless desert to dense jungles and the crowded savannas. Africa's snakes are experts in survival. And this is the story of how they supremely and surprisingly adapted to dominate each corner of one of Earth's wildest continents. Sprawling savannas cover more than half the entire continent of Africa. And here on the continent's most famous savanna, the Serengeti, it's the cusp of the wet season. The land is dry, food is scarce, and animals make the most of slim pickings as they wait for the rains to arrive. Africa's vast grasslands are some of the most fertile on Earth and give life to animals in masses found nowhere else in the world. Although the megafauna may steal the limelight, look closer, beneath the grass, and there are others who thrive here too. Almost 600 snake species inhabit Africa. And today, one has emerged with an appetite only months of dry could bring. The black mamba is the world's fastest land snake and Africa's deadliest. Able to move faster than a human can run, it speeds along in search of food. Its only real threat is the hooves of the animals that share its habitat. To avoid being trampled, it whips through the grass with its head raised. If anyone should get too close, they are warned. The black mamba bears the black, inky insides of its mouth it's famous for. A signal to back off, or else. It's a terrifying display, but one that must be toned down when a meal presents itself. The black mamba locks onto the scent of a rat emerging from its burrow. With few places to hide in the open savanna, the snake must figure out how to remain unseen. Just as at home in the treetops as it is on the ground, it stealthily navigates the canopy, searching for the perfect vantage point to scope out its prey. Down below, the rat is unaware of the watchful eyes from above, allowing the snake to inch closer and closer. Until it reaches the perfect ambush position. One blow is all that's needed. Just 2 drops of a black mamba's venom can kill a creature the size of a human. for the rat, the end will be swift. The snake waits as paralyzing toxins take effect on its victim. A quick nudge to ensure the rat is immobile, and the snake begins its feast. Swallowing the rat the same way as the grain of the fur helps the meal slip down without hassle. Even before the food is swallowed, digestion begins. The snake's venom contains enzymes that are already working to break down the rat. After its lunch, the black mamba finds a sunny retreat. It will stay here and use the sun's warmth to power digestion. A meal this size could last the snake weeks. But another opportunity to eat may arrive sooner than expected. Clouds build and thunder echoes across the plains. A sign the monsoon has arrived. The parched savanna is drenched once again, an event that signals the masses are on the move. Over 1 million animals continually migrate across the Serengeti Mara ecosystem in what is known as the Great Migration. Wildebeest are joined by a host of others as they move towards water and fresh grass. It's a time of plenty, not only for the herbivores who have come to graze, but the carnivores too. The savanna's largest reptiles, the crocodiles, patrol the rivers. As the herds cross, the crocs launch their assaults. Capitalizing on the buffet on offer. But for every life lost, plenty more are born. The good times are a time to breed, and the circle of life is sustained. But with offspring in tow, animal parents must be wary. And not only of the crocodiles. Amidst the grass, a 7-meter African rock python stirs from a midday bask. Recently mated, she has eggs forming inside her. And she's after one final feed before returning to her maternal nest. African rock pythons are the largest snakes on the continent. Weighing up to 90 kilograms, they have enormous appetites to match. To get her fill, this female will need something substantial. Using her tongue, the python detects the odor of food in the air. Impala and gazelle parents supervise their offspring at a nearby waterhole. The youngsters of the group would make a perfect-sized meal. But with her huge size, how will she remain concealed on her approach? The swamp provides the perfect cover. As she advances, her targets are none the wiser. But timing is everything. If she moves too soon, she may startle them and lose her chance to eat. She opts to fully submerge herself for the best chance at success. An adept swimmer, she can stay in the water for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to launch her assault. She coils up and surfaces to choose her prey. The juvenile gazelle on the group's periphery. In a matter of seconds, the youngster is entrapped in the python's coils. Incredibly, she can accommodate prey 3 times the size of her skull. She gets to work making a meal of the gazelle. Using hundreds of razor-sharp backward-facing teeth, she forces the food towards her stomach. It will take weeks for her digestive system to break the carcass down. Hooves, horns, and all. But that timing is just perfect for this mother-to-be. Almost a month later, the female is ready to lay her eggs. The energy she gained from her prize meal will sustain her through one of the most important times in her life: motherhood. She has chosen the burrow carefully, as she'll not only lay her eggs here, she'll stay to incubate them and raise her young when they hatch. She is the only egg-laying snake on Earth to mother its offspring. For the first 2 weeks of the snakelet's lives, the female will stay with them to keep them warm and will only venture out to replenish her energy stores in the sun. Child rearing will cost the female 40% of her body weight. It's not yet entirely understood why the African rock python mothers its young, but it's thought it may have to do with the cooler climate of their habitats. Fringing Africa's vast savannas are some of the most hostile deserts on Earth. Here in the Namib, where endless plains of scorching sand meet the sea, it seems impossible that any life could survive. Yet it does, because animals have found inventive ways to do so. There is virtually no surface water in the Namib. Fog that rolls in from the ocean produces droplets of condensation, which provide this palmato gecko with much-needed hydration. This drink should see the gecko survive another day under the blistering sun. But here, threats not only come from above. A Perengues desert adder launches an attack. Prey is the only way for the adder to get the vital water it needs. To sustain itself, it will need to seek out more prey. Temperatures in the peak of the day can reach a blazing 50 degrees. To avoid being burned by the hot sand, the adder has a unique way of getting around. It pushes off the sand's ripples and moves along in a sidewinding motion. This ensures the adder only ever has 2 points of its body on the ground at any time, reducing the amount of surface contact. A shovel-snouted lizard emerges with a similar tactic. It's quick on its feet to avoid burning them, but its footfalls haven't gone unnoticed. The adder prepares for ambush. By shifting from side to side, it conceals itself beneath the sand, leaving one eye exposed for the lookout. The adder waits patiently. As soon as it detects the lizard's vibrations, it launches its ambush. The adder releases a surge of cytotoxic venom. Although not as deadly as other venoms, it's enough to immobilize prey. The lizard is still alive as the adder ingests it. With a higher water content than desert geckos, the lizard is a prized drink. One that will keep the adder satiated for the rest of the day. The Namib isn't the only inhospitable place African snakes have adapted to thrive in. Further south, where the savannas merge with sandy plains, lies the Great Kalahari, the land of thirst. On these expansive semi-arid plains, prey is scarce. But the Cape cobra has adapted to make the most of a unique opportunity. In the desert trees, sociable weaver birds build gigantic nests. The advantage of such a huge structure is that it protects the birds from the desert elements. This communal style of nesting also provides an advantage for the cobra. An all-you-can-eat buffet. But when things sound too good to be true, they usually are. The plains are home to a variety of temperamental residents, whom the cobra must contend with on its daily commute. A lioness enjoying the remains of a tortoise catches sight of the snake. It's a small meal that's not worth her time. But as the cobra tries to warn her off, she's intrigued by the display. This could be a fun game. The cobra gives her a final warning and continues on. But the lioness wants one more round of fun. Finally, the cobra is allowed to pass, one step closer to its meal. Inside the sociable weaver nest, several generations of birds reside in dozens of chambers. The only challenge left today is deciding where to begin the feast. While much of Africa is characterized by wide open space, at the heart of the continent lies a habitat that's worlds apart. The Congo Basin covers an area the size of Alaska. It's here the famous River Congo drains, giving life to the planet's second largest tropical forest. In this rich habitat, resources are plentiful. But with big bounty come big crowds. Everyday competition for food and shelter is fierce. And those who get ahead are those with the most ingenious adaptations. The Gaboon viper is Africa's largest venomous viper. Weighing in at 20 kilograms and reaching 2 meters in length, it's a formidable force. But it's not just size that makes the viper a top predator here. A set of horns gives it superior sensory abilities. Scientists believe the horns may pick up chemical signals and vibrations in the air and on the ground. All the better to help the viper find a meal in the crowded forest. But horns aren't the only weapon this predator has in its arsenal. The viper is armed with the longest fangs of any venomous snake. Inch-long, needle-like and hinged, they can be deployed in an instant with lethal results. Despite its deadly traits, the Gaboon viper wouldn't have much luck chasing after a meal. With a slow, hefty body, it's far better suited to an ambush. Patterned scales provide excellent camouflage, allowing the viper to virtually disappear into the forest floor. Now all it has to do is wait for a meal to pass by. The timing is superb. A quail emerges, foraging for insects in the undergrowth. As the bird moves about, the viper senses its vibrations. But it lays dead still, waiting for the prey to come nearer. Thanks to its super-sensing horns and sharp eyesight, the viper receives all the information it needs to plan its assault. The speed of the strike gives the quail no chance to escape. Immediately, the viper inserts its giant fangs and pumps venom into its prey. It's a deadly concoction that destroys blood cells and tissue. To swallow the bird, feathers and all, is a huge job. To do so, the viper opens its elastic-like jaws to their full capacity. As the viper pushes the bird down its throat, it shifts its glottis outward, enabling it to inhale much-needed oxygen while eating. To aid digestion, the viper will find a place to retreat, while its body diverts its resources to processing the meal. In the forests of the Congo, there are a higher concentration of animals than anywhere else in Africa. With so many crowded together, there is little privacy. Someone is always watching and ready to sound the alarm if they see something they don't like. This ball python has attracted unwanted attention from its primate neighbors. Shy by nature, attention is the last thing a ball python needs. Luckily, it has a way to diffuse the situation. It curls into a tight ball, a ploy to appear non-threatening. For the finishing touch, it tucks its head away. In this shape, the python could easily pass for a mound of leaves. And with a bit of luck, its harassers will think just that. While a temporary disguise might work a treat for the ball python, there's another forest snake who wears a permanent disguise. The twig snake is aptly named because of its remarkable similarity to a twig. With its cryptic coloration and bark-like scales, it's nearly invisible as it prowls the canopy. But this female isn't looking for food amongst the branches. She's using the height to get a good view of the ground and anyone who should pass by. She detects a skink basking in the sun. Although her coloring provides some disguise, the snake will need to use another tactic to remain unseen on her approach. As she nears her target, she gently sways like a twig in the breeze. The snake lines up her shot. Her camouflage and choreography ensure she is hidden. With one strike, she releases hemotoxic venom, ending the skink's life. A true tree specialist, she swallows her food while hanging from the branches. When all is done, she leaves the scene quietly. She is the perfect silent assassin. And her watchful neighbors are none the wiser. Life in a crowded habitat is about making the most of every opportunity. In neighboring Uganda, forests cover a mere 20% of the landscape. In small pockets of woodlands, competition is high. And when it comes to finding a meal, it pays to use every trick in the book. The forest cobra is Africa's largest cobra. Growing up to 3 meters, they are dominant forest predators. They make light work of lizards, birds, and mammals that cross their path. But today, something new has caught this female's attention. Movement in an evaporating stream below. The forest's dry for most part of the year. She's used to hunting on land. But for a meal, she'll give anything a go. The cobra sizes up the fare on offer. a school of catfish. But fishing is not her expertise, so she'll need some time to figure this out. She scans the pool, trying to line up a target. But it's hard to do when your targets are this slippery. She submerges her head, attempting to pick up chemical cues. But she's still not confident she can execute a waterborne strike. So she opts for a drink instead. And the cobra moves on, in search of a less slippery meal. The key to survival in Africa is all about making the most of what the landscape deals you. Back in the sprawling savannas of the east, the monsoon has passed and the land is dry once again. But the animals know it won't stay this way for long. A second rainy season is on the way. Rain transforms the plains once more. Grazers waste no time feasting on grass. This time the rains will be short-lived, so they must capitalize on the bounty while it lasts. All around the savannah, creatures make the most of the good times. Rodents breed in huge numbers. The African pouch rat regularly leaves its burrow to forage for food to take back to its family. But such missions don't come without risk. A hunter lurks, ready to take advantage of the prey explosion. The puff adder is one of Africa's most formidable ambush predators. Its scales provide exceptional concealment, allowing them to take their victims by utter surprise. But they are famous for much more than camouflage. The puff adder has one of the most violent strikes of all snakes. And they do it with fangs that are so long, they need to be folded into their mouth. Energy stored in the fangs ejects them like a spring, enabling the adder to deliver a fatal blow in just 0.25 of a second. As the rat continues on its daily forage, the adder picks up its scent and immediately goes about finding the perfect ambush position. To remain discreet, it moves in a low-range 4x4 motion. Using large belly scales called scoots, it inches itself forward, silently and stealthily. Keeled scales on the adder's side provide grip and traction as it goes. As the adder senses it's close, it moves into position. The rat stumbles into the adder's range. It has no way of knowing what lays in wait. And it's not only due to the adder's physical disguise. Recently, scientists have discovered the puff adder is capable of chemical disguise. Able to mask its own scent, it is impossible for prey and predators to know they are in the company of a puff adder. The adder releases its monstrous fangs, injecting tissue-destroying toxins into the rat. While the venom takes effect, the adder waits patiently. Once it senses the rat is immobile, it makes its approach. A large gape allows the adder to swallow its catch whole. Chemical cloaking will ensure the puff adder eats well during the second time of plenty. The second rainy season coincides with the start of spring. For the birds of the savannah, it's a time to breed. Migratory birds fly in from afar to raise their families amidst the plentiful grasslands. Resident birds like the spotted thickney build ground nests. But they must always be on high alert, as the plains are home to a snake whose diet is eggs, and eggs only. This female rhombic egg eater has emerged to make the most of the springtime bounty. During the dry months, she hasn't eaten much, and now she is hungry. As she scours the savannah floor, she gets lucky. An unsupervised spotted thickney nest. But parents never leave the nest for long, only slipping away to forage. If the snake is to eat, she must make a move now. As she grasps the egg, her skin stretches tight to accommodate it. Small ridges in her throat help her to grasp the slippery shell. Once swallowed, she holds the egg in her esophagus, where it's punctured by tiny vertebral spikes. As the shell is pierced and crushed, the contents are gradually squeezed into her stomach. Once she has extracted all she can, she does away with the shell. There is no need to spend weeks digesting something that has little nutritional value. And besides, in this time of abundance, she needs as much room in her stomach as possible to devour as many eggs as she can. Africa's snakes have supremely adapted to survive the ever-changing rhythms of their habitats. And between the sprawling savannas and crowded forests is a place where snakes have some of the most extreme adaptations of all. The Great Drakensberg mountain range runs for over 1,000 kilometers, parallel to Africa's southeastern coast. And below the soaring mountain peaks lives a snake-eating specialist. The secretary bird. Its scientific name means the archer of snakes. And what makes this bird of prey so feared is that it spends most of its life on the ground. Hunting by foot, it scours the plains for food. If there's no snake in sight, a lizard or grasshopper will do. When the secretary bird finds a meal, its prey suffers a brutal death. Using its giant legs, the bird stamps the life out of its victim before consuming it. Its kick is one of the most powerful in the animal kingdom, delivering a blow 5 to 6 times its body weight. Growing up to nearly 1.5 meters tall, secretary birds are able to take on large prey, like young cheetahs and gazelles. So, if an animal the size of a snake is to survive an attack from a secretary bird, it must have its wits about it. Wits is something the ring-owl's cobra has in spades. The ring-owl's first line of defense is a concoction of paralyzing and tissue-destroying venom. But when faced with a large predator like a secretary bird, executing a bite is far too risky. It takes time, and time is not on your side when under attack. Specially modified fangs with forward-facing discharge holes enable the cobra to spit its venom. The aim is to send it flying into its attacker's eyes. To get a good shot, the cobra must rear up and fling its body forward. If it hits the target, it will cause instant debilitation and potentially blindness, sending the predator on its way. Unfortunately, the ring-owl's technique doesn't always ensure the best aim. But luckily, they have a solid backup plan. Theatrics. The cobra slowly turns limp, rolls itself over, and positions its mouth agape. A ploy to fake its own death. It's an Oscar-worthy performance that ensures predators clear off in search of a fresher meal, leaving the cobra to resurrect itself and get on with its day. While the ring-owl's cobra has found success in an alternative line of defense, one of its close relatives has taken the art of flying venom to an entirely new level. Further north in Mozambique, forests cover nearly half the landmass. And they are home to a cobra with the best aim of all. The Mozambique spitting cobra. Always able to line up and execute a perfect shot, they are feared by both animals and humans who cross them. Today, this female is in search of prey. She's locked onto the scent of a marsh frog, one of her favorite meals. As she hunts, she must not only stay alert to her target, but others who may be watching. Mongoose reside here, and they are known to fiercely prey on snakes. The cobra nears her target, but it's not going to be an easy catch. As she follows the frog, she stumbles into the path of a group of banded mongoose. To this feisty pack, the cobra is a prized meal. Their MO is to gang up on and exhaust their prey. A bite from the cobra would do little to deter the aggressive pack. They are mostly immune to her venom, so she must resort to craftier measures. She rears up to get a precise read on the location of her attackers' heads. In just a fifth of a second, she locates their eyes and spits. With her venom holes positioned at right angles, she doesn't need to throw her body to get a good shot. It shoots out horizontally. Able to spray venom up to 40 times in a row, she continues her assault. Her aim, to blind as many of her harassers as she can. Bullseye. Just one tiny drop of venom on the cornea will cause the mongoose unbearable pain. Finally, she is left alone. Once she senses the coast is clear, she resumes her hunt. Luckily, the marsh frog hasn't strayed too far. Her smooth scales allow her to approach silently. To the very last second, she remains undetected. As she bites down, her fangs release jets of powerful venom, which seep into her prey. She waits for a combination of toxins to take effect. At last, she gets what she set out to do: the chance to eat. Research reveals that spitting cobras first developed the mechanism as protection, not only against animals, but the earliest humans. Our ancient hominid ancestors. Today, as human impact threatens much of Africa's wildlife, the snakes have never needed their defenses more. With habitat loss and living in close proximity to humans, it's harder than ever for many snakes to survive. Around 20 African snake species are considered vulnerable or threatened due to environmental destruction. A further 42 species are regularly sold in the exotic pet trade. With these challenges only growing, many of Africa's snakes face a difficult future. But with conservation efforts, they will continue to flourish, as they have done for millennia. Evolving to thrive in the myriad of habitats of their vast and wild continent. And adapting to the ever-changing rhythms of Mother Nature.